around the world. And from CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather.
Good evening. The same savage North Atlantic storm that claimed a giant oil rig and the lives of 84 crewmen yesterday claimed another giant victim today. This time, a Soviet freighter, which went down just 65 miles to the east of the oil rig. It's feared as many as 35 Soviet seamen drowned. As for what was the oil rig, which measured 35 stories from top to bottom, Jerry Landay tells us that today you can hardly tell it ever existed.
For 18 months, the huge Ocean Ranger and her crew of roughnecks braved the North Atlantic, probing deeply into the bottom of the potentially rich Hibernia field off Newfoundland for oil and natural gas. Today, she represents the largest financial loss in offshore drilling history. Neither Mobil Oil of Canada nor Odeco of New Orleans, which owned and ran the rig for Mobil, have an explanation, except that she was braving a colossal storm. But the Ranger had done that before. Yesterday, Canadian search plane pilots began probing through the angry weather in 50-foot seas and frigid cold, hoping to save lives.
A few bodies around which we discovered, and some lifeboats and some life rafts. And various debris. We searched for about 2 hours, and various debris of the Ranger, I assume, and there was no sign of the Ranger at all.
With the coming of dawn today, and with weather moderating, the search and rescue teams were ordered back to the Ocean Ranger's last drilling position. What they spotted was one of the rig's life rafts, capsized and empty. Laura Hickey's brother, Greg, 23, was the radio operator of the Ocean Ranger.
We were told not to get our hopes up. That's all.
Former roughnecks on that rig speak of what they call a poor accident record and allegedly lax safety procedures. Rob St. Aubin, who served aboard as an ice observer, described an abandoned rig alarm only last week when the Ranger lost her trim and began to list for a time.
We went to the boat stations, but what happened was that the people on the low side of the rig, in case the rig tilted over on that side, they left their stations and came up all to the one station. So we had approximately 63 people that showed up at that boat station, and the boat was only supposed to hold 50. And there were also not enough life preservers.
The Ocean Ranger was an American registered rig, and Lieutenant Commander Ronald Edmondson of the U.S. Coast Guard says she was due for an inspection.
The certificate is valid for 2 years, and it expired this past December. And this was the inspection to renew that certificate that we were scheduled to go on. Our inspectors were scheduled to leave yesterday morning and arrive there today.
Jerry Landay, CBS News, St. John's, Newfoundland.
Working on an offshore oil rig has the same romantic appeal for many that working on the range did in years gone by. But as Steve Croft reports, we're all finding out that these floating rigs hold many more terrors.
Offshore oil workers are well paid. A driller can earn $14 an hour plus overtime. But the job is also believed to be the most dangerous in the industrial world. Since offshore drilling began in the 1950s, at least 47 workers have lost their lives in the Gulf of Mexico. In the North Sea, the fatality figures total more than 200. In China's Bohai Bay, at least 72 have lost their lives. According to a Los Angeles Times survey, the fatality rate for offshore oil workers in the United States during 1980 was 22 per 10,000 workers, 3 times higher than the fatality rate for coal miners and twice as high as the logging industry.
Our whole industry, of course, is somewhat riskier than working in a supermarket or a department store. But we've done everything we can through the design and the operation of these rigs to make them safe.
What disturbs the offshore oil industry most about the collapse of the Ocean Ranger is that it was supposed to be the Titanic of submersible rigs, unsinkable.
And it was specifically designed by Odeco for drilling in very hostile waters and bad climates. The design was for 115 mile-an-hour winds, 100-foot waves, and a 3-knot current simultaneously.
The disaster is expected to have a major impact on the offshore industry, an impact that will likely be determined by government regulators in Washington, insurance companies, and oil company accountants with an eye on the bottom line. Steve Croft, CBS News, Dallas.
That ill-fated Soviet freighter, the Mechanic Tarasov, took on a list of 45 degrees during the night when its cargo shifted in the storm. Then this morning, the crippled vessel was inundated by 50-foot waves. The all-Soviet crew, which numbered as many as 40, took to lifeboats. 5 crewmen were rescued by a Danish fishing vessel. The bodies of at least 21 crewmen have been recovered, and it's feared the rest of the crew also are dead.
Celebrate new potato and sesame snack thins. A surprising new snack taste from Nabisco. New potato and sesame. The surprising taste delight. New potato and sesame. A celebration in every bite. Real potato baked to a golden crisp. And surprise, a touch of sesame gives this light snack cracker a taste worth celebrating. New potato and sesame. The surprising taste delight from Nabisco.
You won't find them in a Sealy. You won't find them in a Serta. You won't find them in a Stearns & Foster. But you will find them in a Beauty Rest by Simmons. Hundreds of these exclusive Beauty Rest coils. They're wrapped individually so they're free to move separately to give every part of your body the kind of firm, comfortable support you won't find anywhere but here. Right now, there's a special purchase offer on the limited edition Beauty Rest, but only while supply lasts.
Vice President Bush went to the AFL-CIO Executive Council meeting today to get support for the White House. But Union President Lane Kirkland denounced President Reagan's budget and tax policies harshly. Ike Pappas reports from Miami.
Vice President Bush came to Miami Beach seeking political peace with organized labor, but was handed instead a virtual declaration of war. Bush sought support for the president's economic plan, but emerged from what was described as a gloves-off, closed-door session, obviously irritated at the negative reception he received from the union leadership.
They are wrong in opposing this president who is doing what he said he did. We had a very frank exchange on that, and we support it. And they don't give us credit for bringing those interest rates down 25% in a program that started 4 months ago. They don't give this president credit for the inflation being busted way back than from when we came in. So I had a chance to make my points in there.
AFL-CIO President Lane Kirkland told Bush the president's program amounts to what he called Jonestown economics, a reference to the mass cult suicide in Guyana.
I regarded it as Jonestown economics. And with that I mean, as I said, that it administers economic Kool-Aid to the poor and the deprived and the unemployed. I say it's destructive and harmful of not only this generation, but of future generations.
In response, Bush said Kirkland was just grandstanding.
Well, Lane, groping for a headline, is trying to play a semantic game. They are coming up with old answers to new problems.
Tomorrow, the AFL-CIO's Political Action Committee will reveal plans to help defeat anti-labor candidates in the fall congressional elections through direct mail and telephone campaigns to be paid for by the rank and file. Ike Pappas, CBS News, Miami.
No purring engine sounds sweeter to motorists' ears than the phrase worldwide oil glut. And that glut has been lowering gasoline prices since spring, creating what one analyst calls so much fierce competition, gas stations are struggling just to keep their share of the market. Terry Drinkwater has that story.
In Orange County, one dealer is promoting his gas war by dressing attendants in combat fatigues. Today, they're pumping behind a sandbag bunker. Regular at $1.14 and pleased customers.
This is definitely the cheapest gas. It's great.
In Northern California, at some stations, the price battle has brought it to $1.05 a gallon. Here and in one Texas town, the bottom was 99 cents for regular last week. But those wars lasted just a few hours. In Miami, competitive pricing is more and more common. Generally, the wars seem more prevalent in the Sun Belt. But in Chicago, the Midwest, and Denver, the trend is also down, dropping faster than the national average, which is now at $1.34. The reason is the worldwide glut of oil, at a time when demand for gasoline is going down because of more fuel-efficient cars and less driving. Are the oil companies hurting?
It's just forcing people to run the business more efficiently, to take a look at costs that are not necessary, and curtail operations that aren't profitable.
Some industry analysts foresee the price per gallon dipping towards $1 and staying there through the summer. The experts are not predicting an all-out national gas war, but still the prospect of skirmishes here and there is the best news motorists have had in several years. Terry Drinkwater, CBS News, Los Angeles.
Glut or no glut, mainland China today invited nearly 50 Western oil companies to bid for offshore drilling rights in fields that could be among the richest in the world. Estimates of China's offshore reserves vary. One expert says they might equal those of Saudi Arabia. Another says they could rival those of Alaska's North Slope. Senator Harrison Williams was sentenced today in the Abscam case, 3 years in prison. And a federal judge in Uniondale, New York, also fined him $50,000. Williams, a New Jersey Democrat, had been convicted of bribery and conspiracy for accepting a hidden share of a mine for promising to help get U.S. contracts for the backers, who included an undercover FBI agent posing as an Arab sheikh. Next Tuesday, the Senate is scheduled to debate Williams' threatened expulsion.
Of all the breakfast cereals on the market today, over 100 of them altogether, only a very few are high nutrition cereals. New Buckwheats is one of them. And among the high nutrition cereals, only Buckwheats has a great new touch of honey taste.
Mmm, nice touch.
So, for high nutrition and great taste, New Buckwheats, the only high nutrition cereal with a touch of honey taste.
Mail service is excellent between Washington and Jerusalem, especially when the letter writers are President Reagan and Israeli Prime Minister Begin, and when each is eager to get his message across. Leslie Stahl was at the White House today for this latest display of letter diplomacy.
The president moved with unusual speed to put out the fire burning in Israel over news reports that Secretary of Defense Weinberger discussed selling new sophisticated weapons with the Jordanians. Even before Israel asked for official clarification, President Reagan dashed off a Dear Menachem, sincerely Ron letter. I want you to know that America's policy toward Israel has not changed. Restating his commitment to maintain Israel's military superiority in the Middle East, the president said, I am determined to see that Israel's qualitative technological edge is maintained. He seemed to indicate, and White House officials confirm, that if new weapons do go to Jordan, then other weapons would then be offered to Israel to make up the difference. Late today, Israel's new ambassador to Washington, Moshe Aarons, delivered a letter from Begin, in which he said that if Jordan does get I-Hawk missiles and F-16 fighters from the U.S., Israel will be in direct, real, and severe danger. At the White House, a spokesman denied that Weinberger was being rebuked, and at the Pentagon, Weinberger's views were being restated.
The Secretary feels very strongly that we need more than a single friend in that area, and that the stationary surface-to-air missiles are strictly defensive, and that they are not terribly useful without mobility.
But officials here are privately questioning Weinberger's timing, fearing that his comments might provoke Begin into a military move. Meanwhile, the White House insists that the affair does not put further strain on relations between Weinberger and Secretary of State Haig. But Haig's allies are gleeful, claiming that in fact Weinberger has been taken down a notch or two. Leslie Stahl, CBS News, the White House.
President Reagan's promise that no new arms sale to Jordan is contemplated received a skeptical reception in Israel. One official there said, "We appreciate the reassurances," but then he added, "We'd like it even more if we could get a flat pledge that the U.S. will help maintain Israel's military edge, both in quantity and quality." And he said, again, quote, "We'd also like to hear that the U.S. has no intention of arming Arab nations still at war with us." According to United Press International in Mexico City, there are reports of another massacre by government soldiers in El Salvador. Various sources are quoted as saying that it happened last week near the town of Huranacán. One source is quoted by UPI as saying as many as 400 unarmed peasants may have been killed. Another puts the toll at 30 to 40 and says they were leftist rebels. None of this has been independently confirmed. For a few minutes today, there was a little piece of Poland in far-off Africa. In a garden in Lagos, Nigeria, Pope John Paul II and a handful of his countrymen sang a Polish anthem, sang it as it was originally written, not the way a couple of ruling regimes in Poland have tried to rewrite it. Richard Roth is in Lagos.
In remarks to a group of 300 Polish citizens in the garden of his residence here, the Pope challenged Warsaw authorities to end the state of martial law. With Poland's ambassador to Nigeria standing among the guests, the pontiff said, "I want to address myself to the representatives of the state so that the rights of all men are respected." Speaking in Polish and without notes, John Paul said his feelings about events in Poland are profound, adding, "I will speak about them in a loud voice until the rights of Poles are recognized." It was some of the strongest language the Pope has used since martial law was imposed. The Pope then led his countrymen as they sang a Polish hymn, which included the line, "God give us back our own country." The line was banned by the Nazis in 1939. The communists changed it to "God bless our country." Today, the Polish ambassador didn't sing. After 5 days in Nigeria, a Vatican official today said the Pope is feeling tired, though there are no plans to change the schedule that takes him to 3 more countries over the next 3 days. But aides say one result of this trip is likely to be a re-examination of his schedule for visits to Britain and Spain later this year. Richard Roth, CBS News, Lagos.
We'll be ready for you in 2 minutes. Okay. Hi. You've seen us in Amway commercials, and perhaps you thought, well, they're just actors.
We are, but we're also earning extra income as Amway distributors. Like all 1 million Amway distributors, we run our own independent business, built our own sales organization.
Right now, we'd like to show you some of the things that make being an Amway distributor very special.
Like making new friends. Amway distributors offer home care products, food supplements, housewares, and personal care items to our friends and neighbors.
And friends recommend others.
Before you know it, Amway distributors make new friends they'd never have met without Amway.
It's not surprising that people are curious about Amway.
Amway distributors tell them the whole story, show friends how to work toward financial independence as Amway distributors.
That's how Amway distributors build an organization of their own. As they do, Amway distributors win higher awards as their businesses grow. Here's what can really happen. As an Amway distributor, you simply build your business as large as you want to reach your idea of success.
And for many Amway distributors, success means a better life, the joy of helping others, and the satisfaction of being recognized for what you've accomplished.
Cut. Beautiful take.
Isn't the world of Amway an exciting place to be?
And you can be part of it.
It's easy. Just listen when an Amway distributor wants to tell you more.
Maybe you'll decide that Amway's the opportunity you've been looking for all your life.
This is the story of the strange and terrifying journey taken by Air California Flight 754. Coming from Seattle and Oakland, it was supposed to land in Ontario, California, but wound up in Los Angeles. Harold Dow explains why and how.
Workmen repaired severed half-inch utility guidelines today as investigators tried to learn why an Air California 737 sheared them only 200 feet above the ground last night, still 4 miles from the Ontario, California runway. The jetliner, with 122 aboard, was at least 500 feet too low, according to one FAA official, and may well have been on a crash course into the airport when it struck the cables and pulled up. Visibility was poor, with low clouds and drizzle at the time. The aircraft missed the metal electrical towers themselves and the 500,000-volt lines by only a few feet. Passengers said they knew it was a close call.
And all of a sudden we hit something, and there was a big flash of light, and we started taking up again.
Straight up.
And we were just holding on to each other going, oh no.
The plane then flew another 50 miles to Los Angeles International, but there, its brakes damaged from hitting the cables, it rolled off the end of the 12,000-foot runway.
There's no brakes. Went right off the runway, turned right, and ended up coming to a stop in the sand at the end of the runway.
The National Transportation Safety Board has begun its investigation of the incident. In the meantime, the FAA facilities chief at the Ontario airport says the tower gave no warning to the airliner. He reports that part of the landing approach transmitter had been out of order for 2 weeks, and that auxiliary gear failed to provide any warning. The controller, he said, was watching the plane on the screen, but saw nothing unusual. Harold Dow, CBS News, Los Angeles.
The Space Shuttle Columbia moved closer to its next mission today, in fact, all the way to the launch complex at Kennedy Space Center. The rollout of the shuttle assembly began before dawn to avoid an expected storm. The assembly weighs 12 million pounds, so the transporter carried it at a crawl, 3.5 miles in 6.5 hours. The move was ahead of schedule, raising the possibility that the shuttle may blast off on its third voyage before its scheduled date of March 22nd. The Agriculture Department is proposing changes in the way beef is graded. Meat wholesalers, middlemen, restaurant owners, cattlemen, and consumer groups all have opinions about that, but critics charge, no matter how you slice it, the changes would lead to lean times for beef eaters. Lim Tucker looks at the debate.
The proposed regulations would change the way beef is currently graded for sale by lowering the amount of fat, officially called marbling, required within various cuts of beef. And marbling is regarded by meat experts as a tenderizing agent. So not as much marbling would be required to grade a steak prime, the Agriculture Department's top ranking, which would mean that much of what is now labeled choice could be called prime and sold at prime prices. Much of the meat now in the least desirable category, called good, would end up being called choice. Why the proposed changes? Cattlemen say that the public wants leaner meat and that the present rules lead to overfeeding and overfattening of cattle. Opponents of the rules say it will lower the quality of meat and benefit only livestock producers. Because less fat on the cattle means feeding them less, and that could save millions of dollars a year. But the rule change is opposed by the National Restaurant Association and by consumer groups.
The proposal would further reduce the meaning and utility of the beef grading system itself, serving no other purpose but to increase the price for the consumer for the privilege of purchasing less marbled and, for some, less desirable beef.
The industry maintains that the high marbling requirement is no longer necessary, that new breeding and feeding techniques are producing tender, lean beef, and that the change in grading need not cost the consumer more money.
What you, the consumer, are willing to pay for it, you set the price, not the name on the grade.
Sometime after the end of March, the Agriculture Department will make its final decision on the proposals. Lem Tucker, CBS News, Washington.
Pennsylvania Governor Dick Thornburgh today signed into law a bill banning the sale and distribution of so-called look-alike drugs in the state. Look-alike drugs are pills packaged to resemble controlled substances like amphetamines. Governor Thornburgh said Pennsylvania has become known as the look-alike drug center of the nation because almost 2/3 of such pills in this country are manufactured in Pennsylvania. The U.S. government's Center for Environmental Assessment Services reports today that there was unprecedented cost for January's unprecedented cold. Costly in terms of human lives, more than 300 dead. Quote, generally in homes without heat or installed cars. Costly in terms of money. Americans spent $1.4 billion more than normal to keep warm last month, and the study estimates $1 billion damage in Florida's citrus crop, in addition to crop damage in Louisiana, Georgia, Illinois, and Texas. United Auto Workers Union President Douglas Frazier said today that Chrysler has reached a tentative agreement to sell its defense subsidiary to General Dynamics. Chrysler Defense Incorporated makes this nation's most advanced tank, the M1. The defense company is one of Chrysler's few money-making divisions, but the parent company is strapped for cash.
When Sharp replaced 300,000 transistors and diodes with this tiny chip, it opened a whole new world of wonders. Like taking a big copier and everything it can do and making it into one of the smallest any paper copiers in the world. Introducing the Sharp SF750 copier. The Sharp SF750, a very small, very big idea. And where do big ideas like this come from? From sharp minds come sharp products.
Got a busy day ahead? Then take along the vitamins in Kellogg's Product 19 cereal.
Delicious.
100% of 9 vitamins and iron that can keep you company during the day.
Morning, children.
And that adds up to good nutrition. So when things get hopping, the vitamins in Product 19 can help. 100% of the way, 100% of the day. Kellogg's Product 19. We're with you 100%.
The book of Isaiah says, "Woe unto them that decree unrighteous decrees." And some resolutions by the world's largest deliberative body have the mayor of the nation's largest city upset. So upset, Bernard Goldberg reports, the mayor seems in no mood for more advice from Isaiah. Come now and let us reason together.
The United Nations is under attack again. This time the barrage coming from the UN's host, the mayor of New York.
You've called the UN.
A pack of hypocrites, aren't they?
Said it was a cesspool.
Isn't it?
Said they were a bunch of cutthroats and
aren't they?
And piranhas.
Seems to me that I've understated what they are.
A den of iniquity.
You bet your life.
The controversy erupted when the UN voted to condemn Israel for annexing the Golan Heights, the latest in a string of anti-Israeli votes in the General Assembly. The mayor said enough is enough, and now he plans to carve another passage from the Bible onto this city-owned monument right across from the UN. All Koch will say is that it will deal with immorality and cowardice, traits, he says, that characterize the world body.
They are, in my judgment, under the control of the Soviet Union and a pack of Arab sheikdoms who shake us down.
The whole thing is getting downright persnickety, escalating into, what else? An international incident. A brouhaha without the ha-ha.
Secretary General has no comment about the whole brouhaha, as you put it. We are the guests of New York City. The United Nations is in the host city, and we do not wish to comment on what our host is saying.
Maybe not, but the new UN Secretary General just postponed a get-acquainted lunch with the mayor. Wrong time to get acquainted. And the Russians have just joined the fray, calling Koch arrogant, accusing him of currying favor with New York Zionist lobby.
Wasn't that nice?
And one UN aide actually suggested that the mayor's attack might provoke the UN to pick up and get out of town.
I said the city of New York never gives in to extortion. If you want to move, move.
But even Koch says he's not advocating that, adding, New York style, that if the UN does abandon New York, nobody will ever hear from it again. It's a tough situation for the UN, a regular Koch-22. Bernard Goldberg, CBS News, New York.
For CBS News, Dan Rather. Good night.
We're Eastern, America's favorite way to fly.
Sybil Moran. Eastern taught her to be a flight attendant, but nobody had to teach her to like people. For 3 years now, more people have flown Eastern than any airline in the free world. The reason is Sybil and all the people at Eastern who really do earn their wings every day.
We're Eastern, America's favorite way to fly. Come fly with Eastern.
There are times when life seems oh so cold, but there's always time to warm your heart. A silhouette time, travel on words of love. It's your own special time, so sit back and relax with Silhouette Romance.
Each month there are 6 new Silhouette romances, and now for teenagers, new First Love from Silhouette.
Silhouette Romance.
From around the world and from CBS News headquarters in New York, this has been the CBS Evening News with Dan Rather. This is CBS.
The TBI says it may have been drugs, not racism, that led to the shooting of 4 black Brushy Mountain prison inmates. The story coming up next on Eyewitness News.
From Television 5, this is Eyewitness News, weather, and sports.
Good evening, everyone. The director of the Tennessee Bureau of Investigation says he believes efforts to control drug dealing inside Brushy Mountain State Prison